We'll watch this one a bit later. Just wanted to go through Nextpo's uploads. He constructs videos quite well, so I just wanted to watch like an interesting video, like a long one. Probably like dive into a case. Um, this message goes to all my viewers. If you all love like watching cases and stuff, or like just love fascinating things, then I highly recommend Nexpo. Nexpo's channel is just the best, honestly. Like his videos in general are just amazing. Anyways, uh, well, one of my friends recommended the Searching for Five. This one. Let's watch this. Fuck it. See what this has to offer. So I don't know anything about this, so I'm diving into this
Friday.
unknowingly. Searching for the Five. February 24, 1978.
Joseph Jones was scouting some back roads in the Plumas National Forest. He spent the better part of the day navigating his Volkswagen in hopes of returning with his family the next day. However, due to harsh weather conditions, his venture led to his car becoming stuck around 5:30 p.m. Miles away from help and with dwindling options, he hopped out of his car to give it a push. In a strikingly unlucky turn of events, though, this physical exertion would lead to him enduring a heart attack at the worst possible place.
Oh, that's upsetting.
And the worst possible time.
Imagine getting a heart attack in the middle of nowhere.
He returns
stranded,
to the confines of
hopeless,
his vehicle, enduring the pain and contemplating on what to do. A short while later, though, he'd catch his biggest break. Two sets of headlights coming from the opposite direction, in the shadows of what looked like a woman, a baby, and a group of guys walking towards him while engaging in conversation.
It's hope!
After realizing that this could be his ticket home, he
Literally
climbed out of the car and began calling for help.
like
Once he started doing
a
so,
normal person
the headlights
would.
turned dark, and the conversation
What?
fell silent.
So
A couple
now he's
hours
gonna
later,
think
with
that
his
he's
car still
hallucinating
running,
or some shit.
Jones would encounter another anomaly. Flashlights shining in the far distance. As expected, he'd jump out once more, vehemently pleading for one of them to notice him. However,
Aw,
this too
poor guy.
felt unsuccessful. Another couple of hours pass, and Jones's car runs out of gas. Fortunately, though, by this point, he felt well enough to exit his vehicle and begin a trek up the road towards a lodge roughly 8 miles away. It was on this walk when he'd witnessed a 1969 Mercury Montego with no passengers inside. Considering the circumstances, and having spotted numerous people in the last few hours, he
Where have the people
didn't
gone?
think much of it.
They just fled with flashlights. Well,
His
flashlights
trek
from a
took
distance look
took
like
him to the
car
early
headlights,
morning
though.
of the next day, and there he was able to obtain medical treatment and much needed help to get his car out of there. What he failed to realize, however, was the fact that on this journey, he passed the vehicle of 5 men that would soon become enveloped in one of the strangest unexplained mysteries in history.
Unbelievable. So he went on to walk another day while the other 5 men were just missing. It's kind of weird. But where did the 5 guys go? They literally just disappeared in thin air.
February 24th.
It's kind of odd.
It was on this day when the lives of 5 longtime friends would converge. 30-year-old Jack Madruga would make his rounds within Yuba City and Oroville, California, to pick up the others for a night out at a Chico State basketball game. 29-year-old William Sterling, 24-year-old Jack Hewitt, 32-year-old Theodore Wire, and 25-year-old Gary Mathias made up this close-knit bunch.
Theodore looks
commonly
older.
referred to as the Boys.
Yeah, the
For a night out
boys.
Before competing in a basketball
The
game in their own.
boys. Look at them.
The group played for a team
Jolly
called the
old
Gateway
5
Gators,
guys.
an extracurricular segment of the Yuba City Gateway program. This was a rehabilitative center in aimed at helping them learn a trade while overcoming their mild intellectual disabilities and mental health issues.
Oh,
It was
okay.
because of this notion that the group lived with their parents, and with this came the expectation that they'd return home later that night.
So the majority, well, they
Jack
all had
Madruga,
issues
the
then.
owner of his
Like
prized
mental issues.
1969 Mercury Montego, was known to have recently worked as a dishwasher at a local fruit company. He was keen on handling his finances. However, due to what family describes as him being slow in thought, he found it difficult to maintain a job.
Aw.
William Sterling was known to be Madruga's best friend. He was deeply religious and enjoyed spending his free time reading literature to console patients in mental hospitals. Ted Wire, the oldest of the bunch,
He worked in a
enjoyed
mental
confiding in his
hospital.
friends, however, was known to lack basic common sense. According to his brother, he was known to have spent over $100 on pencils for no reason.
Who the fuck does that?
He was employed for a bit as a janitor and a snack bar clerk, but was later urged by his family to quit, since they believed he was causing problems. Jack Hewitt was known to be slow to react and typically hung around Wire. He was taken under his wing, so to speak, and frequently required his help to perform basic tasks such as dialing phone numbers. Gary Mathias was the most enigmatic of the group. He was the only one that lacked an intellectual disability, however, in its place, suffered severe mental health issues. The most prominent was his schizophrenia, which was the cause of his discharge from his brief time in the army. Both Mathias and Jack Madruga were the only two in the group that possessed a driver's license.
Well, are these conditions necessary throughout the
So they
video?
embarked.
Like, do I need to know this
A
stuff?
1-hour trip was ahead of them,
Or is it
and
just
conversation ensued surrounding sports
unnecessary
and the
for me to
anticipation of a
know?
win for themselves the very next day.
But then
The
again,
boys'
it could
uniforms
be
were already
necessary
laid out back home
later
with
on.
their parents, so they were ready to roll. Things were going good.
On the road. How far are they going? What?
p.m. Chico State's road opponent UC Davis takes the win. Considering the men's favorite team were UC Davis, it's safe to say that celebratory snacking was in order. They hit up a local convenience store by the name of Bears, where they loaded up on a Hostess cherry pie, a lemon pie, a Snickers bar, a marathon bar, a couple Pepsis,
Marathon bar.
and a quart of milk. It's
Why
been noted
milk?
that
What
the
the
clerk that
fuck?
checked them out that night was trying to close.
Wait.
And
Why
as
milk?
a result, was mildly annoyed by them being there.
Why would you buy milk with
Little did they
Pepsi?
know that they'd be one
That's
of
like mixing the
ones
two worst
to ever witness this group alive.
liquids together. You wouldn't want to drink
The
Coke
boys jump back
and
in
milk
the car and
together.
embark
I
on their
promise
journey
you.
back home. Journey back home. Home.
What the fuck's going on the computer? What the fuck? Oh, it's the video. What the fuck? Next was editing. Round of applause. So they don't make it back home.
Instead of driving south, they took a detour east. Their journey that night encompassed their ride from Oroville to Chico. You would think that they'd head straight back down Highway 99 and Highway 70.
Yeah, just go straight
That
home.
didn't happen. Right before arriving in Oroville,
Where'd they go?
the driver took a detour off of Highway 70 and onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway, a road that runs across Lake Oroville and up towards the Plumas National Forest. They drove until the road ended and continued their journey up a dirt trail until
So
their
we
vehicle
drove
became stuck on a
further
snowdrift.
down.
It's unclear what happened from this point forward, but sometime after this arrival, they'd exit the confines of their car
Why would
and
you?
embark into the night.
Why the fuck would they
Back
do
at the
that?
lodge, Joe showed his
Anyone
back
in their
to
right
friends
mind
and
would
got
turn
well.
back.
He paid no mind.
Surely
to
they
Mercury
would
Montego, since it wasn't out of the ordinary. And by
have the
midday,
sense
he was able
to
to get his car gassed up and headed home.
turn back.
Concurrently,
Why would
since
they
the
keep
boys were
driving?
nowhere to be found, the mothers of Ted Wire and William Sterling were contacting police, pleading for help in finding their children. It was out of character for every single one of them to be away from home for prolonged periods of time. So they believed that the worst had happened to them.
They drove like an extra mile or more. Far more.
Government officials insist that this is an isolated incident.
To get stuck and not do anything? How does that make any sense?
We will continue to keep you informed as this story unfolds.
Tuesday. A forest ranger scouting the area notices an abandoned turquoise Mercury Montego. It was left on an unpaved road near Elks Retreat, a staggering 2.5 hours from where the basketball game took place. The vehicle appeared ordinary. It was unlocked, the window was down,
It looks
and
perfectly
snack
fine.
wrappers littered the seats. In the gas tank was more or less a quarter tank of gas, and by the time it was located, it wasn't stuck. Jarringly, considering how rough the terrain of this trail is, the vehicle was found with minimal damage. Yuba County PD began broadcasting the details and photos of the missing men, and for the next 5 days, their search team would scour the region. This would soon prove difficult, however, considering the fact that this was in the middle of a harsh winter in the mountains. It's been reported that the search team nearly lost people on a couple occasions, and by Sunday, a harsh winter storm would move in, dumping nearly 9 inches of snow in the area. It was because of this, the environmental hazards, and the fact that time was running against them that led the police to call off the search until snow melt that spring. And as the case sat on hold, their families were frustrated, and the 5 men were left out there,
Unbelievable.
isolated.
With no
Nowhere
one.
to be found.
Nothing. They were literally hopeless. Their only token of survival was to turn back the vehicle, but they were knowledgeable to do that. Fuck, that's so upsetting. Voice crack. That was so upsetting.
A group of bikers are out on a weekend ride and head up onto the sites of an abandoned Forest Service trailer at the Daniel Zink campground near Bucks Lake. The facility involved a main, large trailer in the middle with multiple smaller satellite ones around it. When they pulled in, they noticed a prominent, malodorous smell emanating
Oh
from the
no,
structure.
one of them died.
Immediately after,
Yeah, well, one of them died.
a broken window. They head inside.
Yeah, these
Curious
clues
on
are
what
just
they
hinting
stumbled
at
upon.
someone's death.
And
Yeah, I knew it. I just knew it.
a body.
Oh no.
From head to toe were
Poor
bed sheets
guy.
concealing their identity, and after pulling them off, they discovered that it was one of the 5 men that disappeared 4 months prior. It was Ted Wire, 80 pounds lighter, and with a considerable beard.
80
It creates
pounds
the possibility
lighter?
That he took refuge here for more or less 2 months. In the bed,
Holy
they discovered his body
shit.
with his shoes missing. With that, his feet badly frostbitten. It appeared that he passed away due to starvation and exposure to the elements. However, he
Well, he has no
strangely could have
food.
avoided this fate altogether. Since he took shelter inside of a Forest Service trailer, he had access to ample heat sources and enough canned food to last all 5 men.
No fucking
months if
way.
They chose to stay there.
Oh
While
my.
they found 12 open cans scattered throughout the room, the vast majority of them were unopened, and it also appeared that no effort was taken to block off the window that was broken when they entered. The scene? Bewildering, especially considering that it was 19 miles away from where Joe Schoen spotted their abandoned car. But all in all, it was the jumpstart investigators needed.
Wait. Didn't the narrator
This
go
case.
on to say that one of the investigators
The search continued.
identified that one of them went
With mounting public
8
attention
miles back and forth?
local
So what
closure,
makes it different
search teams prowled the new
to
focus
be
area
going
southeast
towards
of
the
Bucks Lake.
campsite?
It would only take a
Like,
day
why didn't they go to
for
the
them catch their
campsite
next break, too.
beforehand?
On June 8th, police
get what I'm trying to
discovered the
imply?
corpses of Bill Sterling and Jack Madruga nearly 5 miles south of where Ted Wire was found. In Madruga's pocket, his car keys. It was noted that he'd been dragged a short distance and was partially eaten by animals. For Sterling, his remains were scattered around the area a few feet away. He was nothing but bones. Since the bodies were discovered closer to the vehicle and on a potential road they could have taken northbound, they believed that on their hike, the pair couldn't press on any further and met their demise through a combination of the elements and mounting fatigue. 2 days later, The father of Jack Hewitt
The
discovers
fact that
numerous
he
articles
had
of
the
clothing belonging to
resources
him a couple of miles northeast of the surface trailer.
baffles me. He had canned food and a
Soon
propane
after,
tank. That's heat and
his
food right
remains.
there. And you had shelter.
Interestingly,
Oh,
a
God.
short distance west of their location, service blankets and flashlights were discovered lying by the road. This discovery led investigators to the belief that he and Gary Mathias more than likely made it to the trailer with Ted Wire and lived with him for an undetermined amount of time. Their reasoning was because of the existence of Mathias' tennis shoes left in the room that Wire was found in. The theories are tenuous, but they believe that they spent most of their final weeks alongside Ted Wire in the trailer. After he passed away, however, they wanted to get away from the corpse and set out towards the northeast to achieve that. It was on this hike that the pair would meet their demise, spending their final days exposed to Mother Nature. Now, it would make perfect sense.
Yeah, Mother Nature's a
However,
bitch.
to date, the remains of Gary Mathias have never been found. As of now, his missing persons case remains open, leaving questions abound surrounding the motive and the circumstances that late winter night.
God, that's upsetting. Piecing it
Without a
together.
doubt, there are questions about this case. The main one, though,
Where did Mathias
is
go?
the following. Why did they not head home?
That's the first thing I've asked.
Backing up and taking a look at this case.
That's the
something
first thing
Nolan
I've said.
frequently brought up.
Why did they not go home?
Gary
Like, they just went some
Mathias.
random route.
He had a friend that
Just to
lived
get
in
stuck like a
Forest
bunch of dumb
Town, a few miles
fucks.
away from Oroville,
I apologize.
where the car was found. This has led many to consider the potential that Mathias had more to do with this than some were letting on. If we take a look at their route that night, mapping it from Chico to where they abandoned the car, it makes sense. The Oroville-Quincy Highway is just north of Oroville. The potential of Gary Mathias having driven up there in the past wouldn't be far-fetched. So let's entertain the idea that Madruga was convinced. He drove the car up the Oroville-Quincy Highway and missed the turnoff to Forbestown Road.
That's what it
As a result
was.
of this,
That's what he was. He just missed the ramp.
driving until
He missed the
eventually
ramp
became
off.
stuck miles up a mountain trail. Now, up to this point, the events that night seemed like honest, innocent mishaps. What led the mother of Jack Madruga to think otherwise, however, was the fact that after they were stuck, why, with 5 sizable guys that could have rectified the situation with relative ease, did they decide to abandon the car and press onwards into the unknown?
Yeah, like that hit me hard.
Knowing the mistake that they'd gotten themselves into. According to Jack's mother, she pled that there was some force that made them go up there. They wouldn't have fled off in the woods like a bunch of quail. We know good and well that someone made them do it. We can't visualize someone getting the upper hand on those 5 men, but we know it must have been. Considering the circumstances at the time, postulating the potential of nefarious activity wouldn't be out of the ordinary. The state that Jack Madruga's car was found in led to even further questions than it did answers. According to reports, his car was found in immaculate condition, something almost unheard of considering the rugged terrain that existed on the road they'd taken. With 5 moderately sized men packed into an already heavy and low-sitting vehicle, undercarriage damage was nearly a guarantee. Given the fact that Jack had never driven up on this road before, it seemed weird that he was able to navigate it with such prowess near midnight.
Little to no damage on the vehicle at all.
When the car was found,
What?
Jack's window was rolled down, which his mother claimed was extremely uncharacteristic of him. Bearing in mind that Mathias and Madruga were the only 2 with driver's licenses, suspicion grew regarding the actual driver that night. Was Jack Madruga truly at the wheel, or did Mathias demand the keys while taking them up there? Considering Mathias' numerous run-ins with the law, this wouldn't be entirely outside the realm of possibility. Prior to 1976, he was known to have been unpredictable, however straightened out after being prescribed schizophrenia medication. It was reported by his stepfather that, quote, he had no notable contact with police during the 2 years leading up to his disappearance, and he hadn't gone haywire in private during that time. The reason I bring this up is because I see it mentioned all the time on various articles and forums. However, the evidence presented, especially considering his own disappearance, is relatively insubstantial. While this is a notable possibility, in my opinion, there are others that carry a bit more weight.
What the fuck?
Let's
What
talk
the
about
fuck?
Joseph Jones. We can recall that he spent the better part of his Friday night stuck around the same area the boys were. It's staggering that he spent most of his night under the unluckiest of circumstances. However, I digress. In his testimony, he claimed that he witnessed something.
The fact that there
A
were
group
two people in the
consisting of a
same
woman,
situation
a man, and a baby, all walking within the path
is
of
just
two sets of headlights.
unbelievable.
If we're assuming that his recollection is correct, then this leaves us questioning the identities of the other party involved. Ted Wyer's sister has come forth, theorizing on the potential that the men witnessed something nefarious that night, sometime after the basketball game. Perhaps they saw an attack, or some sort of signal, whether domestic or not, and decided to follow the family to help.
What?
I'm not entirely sure how large the distance between Shones and the group he witnessed were, but hearing the cries of someone in need would surely spark some sort of desire to help instead of shutting up entirely. I find it strange that the headlights cut off and the conversations halted in
At the
both
same
instances when he saw people. While the circumstances don't scream maliciousness, they definitely don't drive the situation towards innocence. That is, if his recollection was correct. You see, since this testimony came out, Shones' story had slightly changed each time he shared it. While this, of course, could be a simple case of memory distortion, the notion that he changed it at all ultimately weakens his story altogether. According to sources, conversing with Shones after the fact was admittedly frustrating. He would claim that he was very ill during the moments he believed he witnessed the others, and essentially admitted
they're
that he
gonna
could
take
have
his word for
hallucinated
it
some of the
regardless.
details.
Whether if he was
Bearing in
hallucinating
mind
or not,
that
they're
the
still
other
gonna
party
take his
stopped
word.
dead in their tracks both times
Because
and
then
called
they
out
could
for them.
speculate
Could have easily been a
that
figment of
there
his
was
imagination.
5 men there,
But
and
what
those
if it
5 men
wasn't?
could easily be the ones that went missing.
that's just it. The nature of word-of-mouth testimonies, weakened by the circumstances of their situations, ultimately leave them up for debates and shrouded in uncertainty. While a nefarious situation is plausible, we can't discount the potential that the boys' predicament that night was all one big accident gone wrong. Let's put Gary Mathias in the spotlight once more. Entertain this. The men are at the game. All's going well, and they leave that night without issue. They hit up Bears to grab some snacks before hitting the road back home. They're driving down Highway 99 towards Oroville, and somewhere on the way, Mathias convinced the others to visit his friend in nearby Forbstown. Jack agrees, and they detour right before Oroville onto the Oroville-Quincy Highway.
Yeah, that was the
They
part
eventually
where they
miss
made the
turnoff
wrong
onto Forbstown Road.
decision. If they just all decided to go home, then this would have all been prevented, honestly.
It would make sense. Hesitant to turn around since the highway tightly winds through the backcountry, the others suggested alternate turnoffs that were supposedly ahead. Alternate turnoffs that, as we know, they never took.
What if they did take
Before
it?
they know it, they're up a mountain road, lost in the darkness before becoming stuck. Now, while they could have dislodged the car and turned around, we can't rule out the possibility that they simply didn't think to do so in their situation. On top of this, it was reported that a day prior to their dilemma, a snowplow had cleared a path along the road that they got stuck on, potentially instilling a sense of optimism that some external party would soon be back to help. A party that never came. And so they roughly map out the nearest spot to get help, jump out of the car, and start a trek towards their destination. Since the service trailer was a whopping 19 miles away, It's safe to assume that surviving a trek of this magnitude against harsh weather is more or less a death sentence. As we know, the only ones that made it to the trailer were Matthias, Hewitt, and Wire. An undetermined amount of time later, Hewitt and Matthias would either leave to go get help for Wire or abandon his corpse and embark on yet another last-ditch effort to get themselves out of isolation. And it's on their way out that both Hewitt and Matthias both succumb to the elements, drawing their predicament to its unfortunate end. If you ask me, I think Matthias pressed on northeast, trying to make his way towards the Meadow Valley area. What he likely
That's
didn't
what it may
realize,
have been.
however, was the fact that it was roughly 21 miles away.
I was thinking
If
about
he
that as
were
well.
with Wire, someone that shedded nearly half his body weight, then we can assume that Matthias mirrored this to some magnitude, leaving him weaker than when he initially arrived there. I believe Matthias died somewhere around the Meadow Valley region, and wildlife got to him before search teams could ever make it out there.
Because there's just little to no way
But
he would
it
have
is
escaped that.
just my postulation.
With no help, no food, no
The case of the
resources
boys
whatsoever.
from Yuba County is, by all accounts, one
He's
that
gone
doesn't
eaten.
make sense.
It
And
just makes
details that
sense.
support one theory ultimately weaken the other. It seems that we have the segments in front of us, and they're mostly put together. Without the whereabouts of Matthias ever materializing, however, that's really all that we can do. Like, how was the car unscathed through rocky terrain? Why didn't they react to the cries of Joe Shones, someone they could have seen as their beacon for help? Why was the heat source in food that could have lasted them months untouched? It's cases like this that engulf me with fascination, even though there are still countless questions, countless loose ends, countless unknowns.
It's
The
unbelievable.
boys embarked on that brisk Friday night to what was supposed to be a night of sports,
But how
a night of
though?
laughter, and a
Like
night
anyone
they
in the
never
right mind,
forget.
but then again, they're not right in the
What
mind.
transpired in reality were events that the world around them had been trying to piece together. Because it's all of us that can't forget them.
That was a good one. That was a really good one. We have to put ourselves in their shoes, right? Think about this. You're mentally unstable and so are your friends. You're in a situation like that where you can't necessarily pinpoint exactly what to do because you're either extremely scared, frustrated, tired, you're worried, you don't know what to do, you're clueless, and you can't like get ideas from your friends because you all think the same. So it's like nothing's moving. It's like nothing would have ever happened if they put their mind to it because they all think the same. They're all alike. And I guess that's where the saying "where great minds think alike" come from, because this is a good representation, well, a good analogy of individuals that are not right in the mind, that don't necessarily look for survival, or they don't have the effort in wanting to live or wanting to survive. They just gave up, honestly. They just gave up. Literally, they just gave up. But yeah, that's that. That could have been so preventable. That literally could have been so preventable. Like, this case wasn't jaw dropping. It was just fascinating. That's all. But they could have prevented all that. Like, why didn't you just get in the car and just drive back, just like reverse out or something? Just like he stated, the pavement was paved out. It was a snowy road that was paved out. So if you drove into it, then you could have drove back out. And I'm not missing anything. I know what I heard. And that's like, and that shouldn't even be an option to get out the vehicle and start wandering. Why would you do that? If it's anything, your vehicle's closer to the road than you walking off. You walking off to the abyss, to this complete darkness, is the stupidest thing you could possibly do. And then finding a trailer park is literally a ticket to survival. Not just that, there was a guy screaming for help. That could have been your beacon of survival that you just bypassed and just fucked off because because they thought that, oh, if we just walk off to the unknown then we would live. I'm telling you, it was the fear in their mind that got to them. Poor guys, God bless their souls. I hope they're in a better place, but honestly, it's the fear that gets to people, that deteriorates the mind, and it doesn't allow them to think straight, and doesn't allow them to think properly. That's what it was. All five of these guys, they would have known what to do if it wasn't for the fear that got to them. That's what it was, and I know that for a given fact. It just makes sense. Why would they have just walked off? It was the fear. It was the fear. That was a good that was a good video. I like that one. I like that one.